Today, I'm unboxing and taking a quick look at Stalingrad, Advance to the Volga, 1942. This is from Michael Rinella, who was kind enough to send me this copy. I contacted him and was talking about some gaming and designs, and very interested in this design because I followed his Area Impulse, or in this case he's calling it Area Movement, but his Area Impulse series of games or mechanisms that he uses in several of his game designs, and I really like it. It's a unique approach to battles and wargaming, and it captures kind of a different feel of gameplay as you're going through it. So have always was always interested in those designs, and saw that this was coming out and that it is Solitaire. Those are all, of course, two-player games, and don't necessarily really have a easy way to solitaire them, or at least I didn't find an easy way other than playing them two-handed. Now we have a way to play them solitaire, or at least this system, this Solitaire Area Movement Series, Volume 1. So going forward is going to be a solitaire version of that game mechanic or mechanism. Let's take a look at the back of the box here. A lot on the back of the box. This is published by Revolution Games, and so but it says Revolution Games and Take Aim Designs. I don't know if that is Michael's company or not, but Revolution Games, I've covered several of theirs in the past, and in fact, they've done quite a few of his Area Impulse games over time, and as one of the, I guess, primary companies that have published that mechanism. At least that's my understanding. I could be wrong, and I'm sure you'll all tell me. So we have here on the back of the box here. It's kind of hard to read with the glitter. Yeah, you're seeing me. You're seeing the camera in there. So there can be little question. Stalingrad was one of the bloodiest, most decisive battles in the entire Second World War. The campaign of the German 6th Army to crush the Soviet 62nd Army and capture the city has been the subject of numerous two-player designs. It is the situation known by most gamers, but presented here in a new and exciting solitaire format. The first in a series of single-player area movement games by publisher Take Aim Designs. So what you get in the box here, you've got includes the following components: one 17 by 22 mounted map. I like that. I grew up with Avalon Hill, so the mounted map was kind of my preference. I got into SPI stuff later in life, and so and paper maps later. So I kind of go back to the one that brought me. So that would be Avalon Hill and mounted maps. One sheet of 5x8, 5/8. Well, that was strange. My filming just cut off in the middle of it, and I was talking and unboxing and unwrapping. I did actually unwrap it. Here is the wrapping to prove it. So just cut off. So, and if you follow my channel, you know that I kind of do a Alfred Hitchcock one-take type approach sometimes, or most of the time. And so that was wild. I just didn't even know that my filming had stopped, and I got all the way through the unboxing almost. So here we go, back again. This is out of the shrink now. I think I was talking about the counters. One sheet of 5/8" die-cut counters, one player aid, one rule booklet, 8 6-sided dice. Here's an example of the counters. Here's an example of the map board. And here is a little bit closer up on the different counters. Designer is Mike Rinella. Roger Miller's the developer, and mapping counters are Charles Keebler. Really like his designs. He's up there in the upper echelon of map artists, that in my opinion. So let's get inside this box. For me, again, for you, this might be your first time. I'll have to keep track of the camera and see how it's filming. So a nice box here. I don't have a very thick box, sturdy box here. Most of the games I have from Revolution, in fact, I think all the games I have from Revolution are bagged games. I have several of the Area-Impulse and other type of Revolution games, and I think every one I have is a bagged game, so this might be my first boxed version coming from Revolution. You get a bag of dice, and this is a Ziploc bag, so you can reseal it. Black and red, sounds appropriate for Stalingrad. Here is the rule booklet, which is, let's see what we have here. Looks like it is 16 pages, but the actual rules itself are only 8 pages of rules. You've got optional rules starting on page 9. You've got an example of play on page 10. You've got scenarios starting on page 11, going all the way to 13, it looks like, and then you have game strategy on the rest of the book here. So only 8 pages of rules. It's dual column, decent sized font. There's color in it, and also color examples, so that's nice. Introduction, components, map, playing pieces. Here's a little close-up of those, and here's an explanation of the counters. So you have your divisional color and what its identity is, what the division or battalion, its attack factor, movement factor, and then if you've used it, you flip it over and it's spent. You have the Soviet units, and they're basically going to be kind of hidden. They're going to place them in the terrain that's on the board. So here's heavy urban, and they'll go down face down, so you don't know what you're getting until you open up that box of chocolates, and then you find out what you're fighting. And so that's kind of the AI or the solo nature of it, that you don't have perfect information, and it's going to affect your decisions as you move through your attacks on Stalingrad. You have some markers here, some administrative type stuff here. Air, artillery, pioneer, engineer, control, isolation. Here's how you prepare for play. Tells you where to put the markers and the units and the setup. Then you have your sequence of play, which sequence of play are always important for war games, but they usually hold a special importance in solo games because that usually dictates how the AI works in most cases. German supply costs. Here's stacking and control, movement, combat, turn special rules, and victory conditions. So there you have it, eight pages of rules. Not a whole lot there, right? So that should be pretty easy to digest and get into the game. You get a play rate here, good thick stock with your sequence of play, reinforcements, withdrawals, random events, combat phase with some additional modifiers there, movement costs. We have the Soviet defense strategy, German supply costs, German unit setup, German setup, all that. So that's nice, thick player aid there. Then we have a counter sheet here. So we have one counter sheet here, and here's the German units. Here's the Russian units with their unrevealed side, and then there is their revealed side. Got a big old 10 over there. That's going to be nasty. Here's some control markers, administrative markers. And as you can see, once you use a unit, it is spent. These are decent thickness. I don't know if that's, I'm not a counter expert. I don't know if that's gray core or brown core or what you call it, but looks thick enough to me. So nice counters there. And then we got this map board. Let's get out this. And I might have to go up periscope on this so you can see the whole thing. And as I said, I've played quite a bit of the Area-Impulse or Area Movement, and maybe this doesn't have impulses. That's why this is called Area Movement, not Area-Impulse. In the Impulse, in an impulse game, you have just that. You have impulses. So you'll have a certain number of those. Sometimes there's a die roll, and they're kind of randomized, or there's modifiers based on the instance or the historical battle. But you'll have a certain number of impulses to do stuff. and activating areas to move your units. And then after that, your it goes to the other side. You kind of go back and forth on the impulses, and there might be a limit. A lot of area impulse games has a point where the turn will stop. You know, that there'll be a point where you might have to roll, or if you reach a certain number of impulses, that turn's gonna end, and so you don't have unlimited impulses, and the round just doesn't go on forever. And again, that's usually reflected by the units or the historical situation or something like that. So maybe you don't have impulses here because it's just solo play, right? So you're going to be going until, I guess, until your units are spent, right? Until you flip them over and they're spent. I need to get in the rules and figure that out. There hasn't been a ton of stuff on this game because, again, it's just came out. So, but the map generally looks like an area impulse or area movement game, in that you have them numbered. This starts at 1 and starts snaking up the Volga there. For each area is numbered, and there's like these modifiers that are usually modified or based on the terrain or the area. And so it looks like we have that here. So I imagine that will be added to whatever you turn over. So like that 10 Russian I saw, well, if it was here, it would be 13. And so, and you're going to have to add up your combat factors. And there's usually a die roll that's involved for both sides. And then it's whoever's got the most is the winner. And then, you know, there's usually some kind of comparison to that. Let's see if I see a combat chart here that explains that. We got some bloody streets here. That looks interesting. So here's combat resolution right here. And then you get the defense value. So I don't know. I have to read up on how that combat works. But that's generally, you don't see a CRT here, right? Because it's a combat results table. Let's be clear here. Because it's covered in the area, it's covered on the board. It's a comparison between the numbers of the two units, and whatever that difference is going to tell you what happens. I like the map. Looks nice. I like mounted map boards, especially when they're small like this. If it was like a Great Battles of History, I can see why those aren't mounted, because it's just not practical. Plus, they're usually bigger. But these smaller fights are, you know, like this is nice. I like how this lays out. It lays flat. I'm really impressed with this mounted map. Again, most of my stuff from Revolution, or almost all my stuff from Revolution, has been bagged, so you're not going to get a bag mounted map. So that's new to me, and I'm liking it. I like the colors. I like the look of it. I like the historical layout of Stalingrad and the Volga, and then superimposed is of course the grid and the numbers that you need to know to play the game. At the top of the map, you see like an off-board area. That's usually where reinforcements come from. In most area impulse games, there's kind of an off-board area where people either you need to exit or you bring in reinforcements, and it kind of does the abstracting of the area around the battle, and that comes into play on different battles. Here's your turn track. Here's your sequence of play. Here's morale. You got morale and you've got record. So that's interesting. I have to read up what that is. Here's out of action. Here's available support units. And then you have use support units. And the support units are going to be used to, of course, help you modify the die, right? Like air support or maybe artillery. And that will bump up your die roll because you're trying to get a higher difference on your on the comparison between your attack and their value, or their combat value. Here's your cost and purchases and effect. That's right on the board as well. That's kind of nice. So overall, I'm liking it. I like the look of this, especially for a solo game. It's clear, it's concise, it's somewhat compact. In that you don't have a bunch of charts all over the place and a huge board. I'm liking that. So nice work, Revolution and Mike Rinella and Take Aim Designs, whoever else is on this one. So that is what you get in a box of Stalingrad Advance to the Volga 1942. This kind of interrupted my regularly scheduled programming. I was kind of on a themed week this week, but I got this in, and Mike was kind enough to send this to me out of his own personal stash. So I just had to get this, get an unboxing of it at the very least. I'll try to get this to the table and maybe even try to get an after-action gameplay video like I'm apt to do. I'm not really good at doing, you saw from my technical expertise earlier where my camera shuts off. I don't do a lot of in-play or live gameplay type stuff. I've done that 1 or 2 times, and man, it's me, you do not want to watch me messing up rules, looking up rules, and suffering through analysis paralysis. So I usually do kind of an after-action type stuff where I'll talk a little bit about what happened on the turn, and then maybe talk a little bit about gameplay as I'm learning it. So usually my after-actions are usually not something you can use to learn how to play the game unless you're going to use me as a guidepost of what not to do. Anyway, so there you have it. That is Stalingrad, Advance to the Volga. I right out of the box, I'm not saying this because I got this from Mike, or Michael. I like it. I'm liking the looks of it. And I do like Area-Impulse games, so this looks very similar to that. It looks very intuitive if you've played those type of games, and so I'm excited to sink my teeth into this and hopefully get something out to you guys in the near future. So love to know what you think about this. Have you got this yet? Have you seen this yet? Have you been following it? What do you think about Area-Impulse games? What do you think about translating those to a Solitaire Area Movement system? Love to know any of your thoughts on that. And there you have it. Hope you all have a good one. Take care. Thanks for watching.